The Owl House Season 2 is on its way, and Disney Channel has dropped a brand new trailer that would get just about any fan of the series hyped for what's to come. New characters, new locations, new spells? Belos has hair? This is getting weird. Now, a lot of this trailer was comprised of miscellaneous shots that really just serve to be as non-spoilery as possible, so I won't be breaking down every single shot in this trailer, as what I have to say covers most of it anyways. And we have a lot to unpack. With all that said, let's dive in. We open with Luz recording another video message to her mother, Camilla. I think it's a pretty safe bet to say this is from the Season 2 premiere, Separate Tides. Though this mainly serves as a recap of Youngblood Old Souls, it does confirm that timeline-wise, Season 2 starts a week and a half after the end of Season 1. Luz is still shown to be holding on to her key to Ida's destroyed portal, remarking that she's determined to study it and find a way home. This evident plot point catches my eye for a multitude of reasons. Not only does this set up the potential of explaining how magic-imbued items work in the demon realm through reverse engineering, but given other scenes included in the teaser, I'd wager that Luz will have to cross paths with the technology-savvy Odalia Blight in order to achieve a breakthrough. Luz, equipped with her cloak, seems to have gotten a better grip on Ida's staff, as she's calmly cruising atop alongside King, as Liv tags along with her own staff, carrying a mobile hoodie on her back, as we can recognize the miniature house he embeds himself into later on in the trailer. This unique roster of characters are heading towards a dangerous new island to seek answers on King's origins, as reflected in the synopsis for Echoes of the Past. Liv's outfit rules, by the way. That near-depleted phone battery top is going to manifest itself into reality one day, mock my words. I can already see the Etsy listings in my head. Luz and Amity venture into the Forbidden Stacks, the most dangerous section of the library, which we know is the B-plot of Season 2's 5th episode, Through the Looking Glass Ruins. I'm hoping this episode feels like a sequel to Season 1's Lost in Language, which was a very important story for Luz and Amity's arc. That being said, I assume venturing into the library may be tied to the two's mutual interest in the Good Witch Azora series, a series I believe may be beneficial to the narrative of this season and Luz returning home, given that somehow the books exist on both Earth and the Boiling Isles. Elsewhere, Luz, equipped with a light glyph, has a dramatic pause as the camera pans over to a humanoid silhouette that appears to be extremely furry. In fact, this silhouette reminds me a lot of Ida's Owlbeast transformation. Given that we see Lilith begin to succumb to the shared curse, collapse on the floor of the Owl House, feathers sprout all throughout her arms, and her jet black fingernails morph into claws, I would assume this is either lifted from the episode Separate Tides, focusing on the new changes in the status quo, or the episode Keeping Up Appearances, where Ida gets a sudden visit from a member of the Clawthorn family, a relative who actually appears in this trailer, descending from the sky in a purple dress, with gray hair very similar to the likes of Ida, equipped with a mysterious medallion, a gigantic hawk of a talisman, and what looks like a glyph on her arm. You may recall that the episode Convention featured the introduction of power glyphs from the Construction Coven that could enhance the performance of one's abilities, which Lilith placed onto Amity in order for her student to excel during the Witch's Duel. While I can't say for sure this is a power glyph, as it is from a distance, and as a result, it looks a little different, it does add up that the older a witch gets, and their power begins to dwindle, the more likely they are to rely on enhancements like glyphs to maintain their sharp skills. It's possible that this isn't a glyph at all, but instead, her Coven mark, similar to the one we saw in Convention. It makes sense that Keeping Up Appearances would entail Ida and Lilith hiding their disabilities from their mother, especially Lilith, who was used to prospering, alongside the inevitable admission that Lilith is the one responsible for Ida's curse. The two sisters fighting themselves against the wall, with no other options left but to fess up and tell the truth, essentially explaining to their mother they don't have their shit together, and just because they're adults doesn't mean they have it all figured out, to which their mother may not only be understanding, but could pass down a few tricks onto her children to make their day-to-day lives a little bit more bearable, like using power glyphs to perform magic proficiently a smidge longer. I have a feeling Mama Clawthorn is going to provide us with a lot of levity, but also a lot of heart and a lot of emotions in between. Alright, scratch that. A clip came out and just kidding, it has nothing to do with Lilith. In classic Owl House fashion, it was just a fake out. The curse of overthinking cartoons on a short notice. Jumping back to Echoes of the Past, Luz traverses what looks to be an abandoned temple, guiding herself once more with a light glyph. Now this may be a coincidence, but the statues that decorate the environment give a striking resemblance to Selene, the Moon Girl, a recurring student of Hexside who's made numerous appearances throughout Season 1. I wonder if this is just a coincidence in design, or if Selene's race used to play a crucial role on this island, and thus the origin of our beloved king. We haven't seen many characters like Selene around, so I wonder if she's close to being considered the last of her kind. We also see that one of these statues become animated and assumably pursue Luce, so I wonder if they either recognize the presence of King and thus spring to life, or if the crew ends up stealing a valuable artifact that awakens them by proxy. It seems like Ida and Lilith won't be the only ones with sinister transformations, as one of the most intriguing shots in this trailer is Belos' yet-to-be-named spy witnessing his master transform into something unworldly. And we know this is Belos due to the identical upward-facing horns, hollowed-out eye, and his surprising mane of hair, which is present in another brief appearance at the tail end of the trailer. This one shot has my mind overflowing with an abundance of questions and possibilities. You guys may recall my belief in Belos being a lich, but now I'm curious if how he appears now is even his intended final form. Is it possible that he achieved his current form through a multitude of resources, including that of a curse? I mean, just think about it. What if there was more to him refusing to heal Ida of her curse beyond just being a dickhead? What if he's familiar with curses in the first place because he cursed himself to serve as further experimentation? Alternatively, this transformation could be one of the many applications of the severed talisman that Belos acquires, as seen in Agony of a Witch. Perhaps particular talisman, depending on the circumstances of their creation, can affect Belos in different ways, one of which being this peculiar transformation. It's also possible that Belos was inspired by witnessing the Albies in action, viewing the curse as more of a blessing to have under his belt. Perhaps the addition of his hair isn't something that was hidden all this time, but rather something he literally grows into with this episode. Which, if I had to guess, if it's from any of the first 5 episodes of the season, would be echoes of the past, given the presence of the spy here in correlation with his scenes later in the trailer. Starting a sequence of miscellaneous shots, we have flying unidentified square-shaped objects. At first I thought these could be books that come to life, tying it to the episode looking through the glass ruins. But they don't necessarily look like books, just the shape, with wings and an eyeball. I thought maybe they could be doors, but there's no doorknobs, handles, or anything on them. So I feel like I just have to leave this one hanging without much speculation and see how it plays out. We then see someone or something attacking a knight of the Emperor's Coven, going off his attire. The surrounding environment appears to be a forest with some blue dirt, green patches, and rocks. The silhouette itself is large and round, so maybe he has a boulder or other hard object launched at him from one of our heroes. Gus conjures up some elemental magic as he unleashes a fireball from the palm of his hands that travel through a blue ring. I assume it's just a spell circle that's required to be formed, blue to signify Gus's bond to the Illusion Coven. If this is the case, is elemental magic on the table for witches regardless of their coven? Or has Gus learned through someone like Ida on how to break the rules a little bit? I really can't wait to figure out what's going on here. This is likely also from the episode Looking Through the Glass Ruins, as the A-plot is set to focus on Gus's efforts with impressing kids from Glandis High. In an upgrade for the antagonist, one of the guards is spotted casting a spell. After the absolute humiliation the guards suffered at the hands of Luce and Youngblood Old Souls, it makes sense they would be properly equipped with the means to defend and enforce against offensive magic users. That being said, we don't know if they'll actually be good at using their magic. A guard casting something completely useless by accident is perfectly in line with the Owl House's sense of humor, so I could see them getting folded just as easily all the same. Either way, it's good to see that the antagonistic forces are stepping up as the characters evolve, just like characters in a video game. Next up, we have one of the most eyebrow-raising snippets of the teaser, as Camilla Noseda appears to be involved with an investigation of sorts, judging by the evidence board behind her, which not only includes a gold key, which could evoke the image of Ida's portal key, but a photograph of a silhouetted cloaked figure holding an elongated object. Camilla, phone in hand, has her expression shift from a proudful smirk to a worried jaw drop. What the hell's going on here? Well, I think this could tie into the elusive summer camp Luz was slated to go into, and an unforeseen consequence of Ida's frequent back and forth to Earth from the beginning of the series up until the end of Season 1. After enchanting Gromfright, it was clear that the alleged summer camp Luz was set to go to wasn't what it seemed to be at all, as Camilla has been getting forged letters from Luz throughout the summer that her daughter absolutely was not writing. Luz has only been communicating through text and recorded video messages that we're not sure she's actually sent to her mother, which is why the inclusion of Camilla's phone really intrigues me. Luz couldn't have been the only child being sent to that camp, and by extension, she can't be the only attendant having fake letters sent in their name to their parents. It's possible that a multitude of concerned parents haven't been able to properly contact their children beyond weird letters that sound like they were written by robots. And now someone is investigating, whether that be the government or a new supernatural force we have yet to meet. Their number one suspect? Not the actual culprits behind it, but the witch with a magic key, cloak, and staff who was rumored to be sighted around Earth collecting various human artifacts. Or maybe children. Of course, Ida isn't actually behind this. She hasn't abducted any children, aside from Luz technically, but to an outside force. I could see how those two things could add up rather easily. Either way, I'm really hoping that we'll see Luz's mom step into a bigger role for Season 2. Emulating Pokemon's Team Aqua to the best of her ability, Luz is seen slapping on an ice cliff, and later in the same outfit, she flexes some plant power. Now, considering the first episode of Season 2 is called Separate Tides, it makes a lot of sense that Luz in this pirate outfit would be for that episode. Good old ocean puns. Next, we have a captivating cinematic shot that depicts the skull of the Titan that lies beneath the boiling isles within a blue flame. A flame that I assume to be Lilith's, framing this scene as potential information on Belos' connection and plans with the Titan. Something I think Lilith may be knowledgeable about. The eye of the skull illuminates with fire that engulfs everything. Makes me wonder if they're discussing the Day of Unity, and if the Day of Unity involves resurrecting the Titan, or utilizing the corpse of the Titan for reasons not yet known. Belos' spy seems to have his head turned in a near 90-degree angle. He could just be looking behind, but I don't know, the placement of that head is weird. And we already know Belos is capable of similar abilities. And the spy gives a cocky farewell to presumably Luz, Lilith, King, and Hootie, riding his technological staff. As said staff emits a red glow from its gem, the emission seems to be responsible for both the spy and his staff being encased in a red glow, swiftly teleporting away. Now that is impressive, and I'm immediately wondering what else his staff could be capable of. I have a hunch this is from Echoes of the Past, given that the spy is holding King captive in a cage at the end of the trailer, with a similar color palette in a similar environment. This leads me to believe that King, alongside anything Luz and company are potentially seeking out, is actually extremely valuable to Belos. Perhaps the spy overhears King's delusions of grandeur and recognizes the information King is sharing, leading him to investigate and capture King for further interrogation. Either way, he was assigned to keep an eye on the Owl House, so it makes sense that he follows everyone to this island. Speaking of Belos, we have a shot of him sitting back on his throne, eyes glowing blue, so we can assume he may have just gotten juiced up on some palisman blood. But what's even creepier are these three saint-like statues covered in overgrowth, dramatically turning their faces towards the screen as their eyes become piercing red, followed by bleeding from the eyes and mouth. This could be an immediate response to the same action that awakens the statue shown to pursue Luz later in this trailer. Whatever the case may be, if I was a kid, I would have been scared shitless. It's awesome. I'm assuming Echoes from the Past is going to get wild, as if this is from the same episode, then Luz manages to steal the spy's staff, as she's seen using an ice cliff to leap into the sky. And is that a palisman I spy on her arm? This feels very much like a potential third act, and it seems as if this episode could move back to the town of Bonesboro, as Luz makes off with two important artifacts. Imagine if she keeps the staff, or at least breaks off a piece. What kind of research and discoveries could they make from there? I actually do think, at the very least, Luz could find out who manufactured that staff. A shocking revelation that I'll dive into in a moment. But before that, a creature resembling the Owl Beast approaches in the hallway. And if I had to guess, this isn't Lilith's transformation, but rather a nightmare Lilith is having of the transformation, similar to Ida's nightmares and visions throughout Season 1. The head of the Bard Coven makes a notable debut, and with their appearance, we finally know the identity of the Hexite student that was a part of an apparent trio with Lilith and Ida back in the day. That student was in the Bard Coven, evident by their red uniform, and was seen extra cozy with Ida. Now, it's very important to note that we can identify they are the head of the Bard Coven due to the incredible revelation of all the Coven heads shortly after in the trailer, which I don't really have much to say on, but I think they all look pretty cool and I can't wait to see what they do in action. But this is not the same Bard Coven that was depicted in Season 1. I think this is from an episode beyond the first upcoming 5, which will focus on this old friend of Ida and Lilith as they walk into the role of Coven Head, which in itself could explore things such as, when do Coven Heads retire? Did the former head of the Coven die? How long is a term? So on and so forth. Another shot of this new Coven Head depicts them playing the violin, as it looks like they're reacting to another character off screen and giving an approving nod. So I assume they're either cooperating with a plan or giving a sign of approval for a plan to be put into motion. And on that note, I believe this flashback of a short-haired Ida will stem from this episode, and it could be a part of a larger explanation as to why these two could have had a falling out, since they have never interacted at all during the first season. Kikimora also seems to be a bit more involved, and I noticed this winged creature has a lot of visual similarities to her. I mean, I can make out the appendages, the two yellow and red eyes. They're honestly pretty identical, so we can assume this is a transformation of hers, which means she's really stepping up and displaying her dedication to the Emperor firsthand. Luz appears to be using two glyphs at once, on the opposite ends of a circle, the light glyph and an ice glyph. It makes sense they would want to combine glyphs, keep things interesting, and build out the magic system of the show. So I wonder what exactly the result of this combination would be. I mean, light and ice? Is it snow? Or something we couldn't even imagine? I guess we'll just have to wait and see. We have another shot of a younger Ida. This time she appears to be eavesdropping into a conversation with her mother. I believe this is from Keeping Up Appearances, as we could explore Ida's family life and why she didn't really stay in touch with her family in the first place. Tragic backstories definitely seem to be right up Dan Terrace's alley, so I can't wait to see how Ida's gonna break my heart this time. In a surprising turn of events, the Blight parents are actually Tony Stark types? That sign reads Blight Industries. And Odalia is using a weapon that looks like a repurposed abomination. And this immediately got me thinking. They're combining magic with technology. Doesn't that sound familiar? Is it possible that the Blight parents may have business ties to the Emperor's Coven and his arsenal of technology? One of Odalia's abomination experiments is seen terrorizing Luz. That's no good. And wrapping things up, there seems to be a shot of the Emperor inserting a new key into the restructured portal, and we can see a glowing green substance flowing within the tubes. So now there's presumably another application for the remains of Palisman. The magic within them is going to be utilized to power the portal that Emperor Belos will use for the Day of Unity. And we have the man himself, full head of hair, put on his mask and say, "Knock, knock, human." Which could either mean yes, Luz does confront this man in person, or this could be a vision of some kind. As always, I guess time will tell. But as always, these are just my thoughts and I want to hear yours. What did you think? What was your favorite part of the trailer? Are you excited for the beginning of the Owl House Season 2? Let us know in the comments down below or tweet your thoughts over at Roundtable Vids, and you can find me at OstricFox. We're also on Instagram. If you enjoyed this video, please sort to like and subscribe to the Roundtable for more great cartoon content. Thank you for watching and I hope you have an awesome day. OstricFox, signing out.